It's rare for a mid-card wrestler to break into the main event scene, especially when most of their career has been spent as part of a tag team. That's why it's always exciting when a fan favorite finally breaks through the glass ceiling and reaches the top of the card. And that's exactly what Jey Uso has achieved. He has taken the wrestling world by storm. But how did he get to this point? Join us as we take a deep dive into his journey. Joshua Samuel Fatu was born on August 22, 1985, in San Francisco, California, just 9 minutes after his twin brother, Jonathan. From birth, the two were inseparable, and it came as no surprise that their bond remained strong throughout their youth. Their father, former Intercontinental Champion Rikishi, often had to referee their childhood wrestling matches at home. As members of the legendary Anoa'i family, a lineage that includes icons like the Wild Samoans, Yokozuna, The Rock, and Roman Reigns, wrestling was in their blood. But that didn't mean Joshua and Jonathan didn't explore other interests. During his school years, Joshua developed a passion for football. While attending Escambia High School, he played as a linebacker, a position he continued at the University of West Alabama from 2003 to 2005. At one point, it seemed he might pursue a career in football, with his coach, Sam McCorkle, encouraging him to go further in the sport. However, despite his efforts, Joshua didn't feel he was achieving the success he wanted. After college, Joshua and his brother worked at a furniture moving store. That was until their uncle, Umaga, saw their potential and urged them to follow in the family's footsteps. Taking his advice, the twins began their wrestling training. Their training paid off, and by 2007, Joshua and Jonathan, wrestling as the Fatu twins, made their in-ring debut for World Extreme Wrestling in Milton, Florida. Shortly after, they started making appearances for promotions like the National Wrestling Alliance. It was only a matter of time before WWE came calling. In 2010, Vince McMahon signed the twins to developmental contracts, sending them to Florida Championship Wrestling, FCW, where they were rebranded as the Usos. In FCW, Jey and Jimmy Uso quickly made a name for themselves. They faced off against teams like the Rotunda Brothers and the Fortunate Sons, even defeating the latter on March 13, 2010, to become FCW Florida Tag Team Champions. Their impressive performances caught the attention of WWE higher-ups, and just 5 months later, they were called up to the main roster. On the May 24, 2010 episode of Raw, the Usos made their main roster debut, accompanied by Tamina Snuka. They immediately set their sights on the unified WWE Tag Team Champions, the Hart Dynasty. However, despite their best efforts, they couldn't capture the titles. Their struggles continued when Tamina turned on them on the December 6, 2010 episode of Raw, aligning herself with the newly crowned tag champs Santino Marella and Vladimir Kozlov. Even without a manager, the Usos remained determined to prove themselves. However, their early main roster run was filled with setbacks, suffering losses to teams like the Corey, David Otunga, and Michael McGillicuddy. Even after moving to SmackDown and turning babyface, they struggled to gain momentum. By 2012, things started to change. Spending time in NXT helped them rebuild their confidence. They secured victories over teams like The Ascension and Curt Hawkins and Tyler Rex. When they returned to SmackDown, their performances improved, and they began to gain traction, defeating teams such as Darren Young and Titus O'Neil. This was just the beginning of their rise, and for Jey Uso, it was the first step toward his eventual breakthrough into the main event scene. O'Neil, all they needed now was another shot at the tag team gold, and that opportunity came at WrestleMania 28 on April 1st of that year. The Usos competed in a triple-threat WWE Tag Team Championship match on the pre-show against Tyson Kidd and Justin Gabriel, as well as the champions, Primo and Epico. Would this be the moment the Usos finally reached the top of the mountain? Unfortunately, no. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't secure the victory, and their losing streak continued into the spring and summer of that year. Once again, questions arose about how good Jimmy and Jey Uso really were. Realizing they needed to evolve or risk fading into obscurity, they made a crucial change in June 2013. They began wearing tribal face paint to highlight their Samoan heritage and incorporated a traditional Siva Tao dance into their entrance. This transformation marked the beginning of something special. By the time 2014 arrived, the Usos were on a winning streak, culminating in a challenge for the WWE Tag Team Championship against the New Age Outlaws on the March 3rd episode of Raw. This time, they finally captured the gold. With the titles around their waists, the Usos successfully defended them at WrestleMania 30's pre-show, defeating the Real Americans, Los Matadores, and Ryback. Their momentum continued into the summer when they faced off against the Wyatt family. Though they eventually lost their championships to the Rhodes brothers at Night of Champions on September 21st, they had firmly established themselves as major players in the tag team division. Their status was further solidified when they regained the titles on the December 29th episode of Raw. However, their momentum hit a roadblock when Jey suffered a shoulder injury in early 2015, sidelining him for 6 months. Without the Usos on WWE TV, they had to regroup. Upon their return in November, they immediately assisted their cousin Roman Reigns against Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and The New Day. This led to a rivalry with The New Day, producing a series of outstanding matches that helped keep the tag division relevant during a period of waning focus on tag team wrestling in WWE. Throughout 2016, the Usos feuded with the Dudley Boys, the Good Brothers, and American Alpha. In September, they turned heel, rediscovering an edge that had been missing in recent years. This change revitalized their careers, but they didn't capture the SmackDown Tag Team titles until March 21, 2017, when they defeated Chad Gable and Jason Jordan. This victory made them the first team to hold both the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships in WWE history. They celebrated their achievement by successfully defending their titles against Breezango and reigniting their legendary rivalry with The New Day. Their Hell in a Cell match on October 8th was one of their most memorable encounters, further proving their dominance. By 2018, they were beloved once again, turning face and heading into WrestleMania 34 as defending champions. Though they lost their titles to the Bludgeon Brothers, their first ever main card WrestleMania match was a milestone. Outside the ring, Jey faced legal issues in January 2018, leading to travel restrictions that prevented him from competing in Canada. Despite this, he and Jimmy continued to deliver high-quality performances, eventually winning back the SmackDown Tag Team titles at Elimination Chamber 2019 against The Miz and Shane McMahon. However, their reign was short-lived as they lost the belts to the Hardy Boys on April 9th. Later that year, they were drafted back to Raw and feuded with The Revival, Curt Hawkins, and Zack Ryder. Their momentum was halted once again when Jimmy's legal troubles led to both men being pulled from TV for the remainder of 2019. The Usos made their return on the January 3, 2020 episode of SmackDown, aligning with Roman Reigns against Baron Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. At WrestleMania 36, Jimmy suffered an injury that sidelined him for months. With Jey left on his own, WWE took a chance on him as a singles competitor. He won a fatal four-way match on September 4, 2020, becoming the #1 contender for Roman Reigns' Universal Championship. This set up 2 high-profile matches between the cousins at Clash of Champions and Hell in a Cell, both of which Jey lost. Afterward, he pledged loyalty to Roman, joining the Bloodline. This marked the beginning of WWE's most dominant faction in years, later joined by Solo Sikoa. The Usos reinforced Roman's reign by winning the SmackDown Tag Team titles from Rey and Dominic Mysterio at Money in the Bank 2021. They followed up by capturing the Raw Tag Team titles from RK Bro on May 20, 2022, becoming the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. However, tension arose when Sami Zayn joined the Bloodline, creating friction with Jey. Their relationship evolved, culminating in Jey finally accepting Zayn at Survivor Series 2022. Yet, Sami turned on Roman at the Royal Rumble 2023, leading to a rift in the faction. At WrestleMania 39, the Usos defended their titles against Zayn and Kevin Owens in the main event of Night 1, completing their journey from pre-show fixtures to headliners. They lost the match, but Jey's growing popularity led to a babyface turn in the summer after he betrayed Roman. Jey then moved to Raw, where he established himself as a singles star. He briefly won the undisputed tag team titles with Cody Rhodes at Fastlane 2023 and feuded with top stars including Seth Rollins and Gunther. Despite falling short in title matches, his yeet catchphrase and undeniable charisma kept him in the spotlight. He won the Intercontinental Championship from Braun Breaker in September 2024, solidifying his status as a singles competitor. Even after dropping the title, Jey continued to thrive. In November 2024, he reunited with Roman, Sami, and Jimmy as babyfaces to battle a new Bloodline faction featuring Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tanga Loa, and Jacob Fatu at Survivor Series. His journey came full circle when he challenged Gunther again in January 2025, proving that main event Jey Uso was a force to be reckoned with. As the Royal Rumble approached, all eyes were on Jey Uso. Would he finally reach the pinnacle as a singles competitor? Only time would tell.